Welcome, one and everyone, to this week's episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings, episode 337, I think. I am your neighborhood friendly Oxhorn, here as always with my suspenders set to maximum stun. Great show for you planned today, filled with magic and wonder and Scotch. Actually, I lied. Not about the magic and wonder. No, there will be plenty of that. But about the Scotch. Because I am out of Scotch. So instead, I am forced to use some Bacardi rum. I don't use rum very often on the show. I used to use it much more often back in the day. I'm talking 2009, 2010, 2011. Rum was much more of a fixture back then, but we've solidly moved towards Scotch. But today I am using rum because I am plumb out of Scotch. You know, in parts of the Caribbean, when Jack Sparrow says, "Where's all the rum gone?" Something like that. It's like that, but with Scotch. Where's all the Scotch gone? Which I will have to replace with rum. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. Bottoms up. Not that I'm complaining. A little rum makes for a good change. Greg Hartung says, Bacardi? This show being broadcast in Cuba? Bacardi's not a Cuban brand, I'm sure. Caribbean, okay. Mr. Tumnus says, good evening, Master Ox and friends. Good evening, Mr. Tumnus. 0 for 17 says, 3 minutes late. Yes, I know I was 3 minutes late. My apologies, I should have broadcast to the world. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, I will be 3 minutes late. Although on my end, I wasn't 3 minutes late. On my end, I was only 2 minutes late. But hey, I'm not saying whose clock is right. Maybe mine, maybe yours. Doesn't matter. Imagine Justin is in the chat today and says, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the most classiest man in the world. Give it up for Oxhorn. We know. Thank you. Yes, the throng dost cheer. Or the throng doth cheer. I think doth is the plural form of archaic does. Dost is singular. Anyway. Big Red Devil 1990 with a very light neon green text against a light gray background, making it impossible to read, says, hello, Ox. Hello, Big Red Devil 1990. Pleasure to have you on the program today. The Bancy Fadger says, how has the week been, Ox? The week has been fine, but it has gone by fast. This week has snuck away from me. Good gracious. You ever have one of those weeks when you start the week and you've got a plan for all of the amazing work that you're going to do, and then the next thing you know, it's Thursday afternoon, and you haven't achieved nearly everything you wanted to do, and the week's almost done. Yeah, I'm having one of those moments. That is what's going on in the Oxhorn household. This week is getting away from me, so I'm just going to have to work extra hard tomorrow. How about that? Not that I'm complaining. Hard work is a good and noble thing. Builds character. Today we're smoking a cigar. Cigar Ox says only 53 episodes left until episode 400. Really? Ho, ho, ho. Alright, so he's counting down until episode 400. I'm thinking that's sometime in June? 53 episodes. That's 53 weeks. 53 divided by 4 is how many? 13. Wait. Wait a minute. Something's off. $53 divided by 4 is 13. So over a year? We have over a year to wait until episode 400? Is that the way it works? How many weeks? Goodness. I was way off. I said June. Apparently my math is bad. This isn't news to me. I've known that for quite some time. The math part of my brain is functioning at a lesser level. I've come to terms with that. The Bancy Fadger says, cheers and here's to our relaxing evening. Cheers, good sir. A relaxing evening to you as well. JC84JC00 says, you okay, Oxhorn? You sound sick. If at least a bit tired. Well, goodness. I hope I'm not sick. I may be just a bit tired. I did just wake up. Yes, that's right. After work, I had 1 hour before the show started, and I was really tired. So I said, all right, I'm going to go take a 30-minute nap right before the show, which, of course, is the best decision to make before I have to be live on the internet and before an audience. That 30-minute nap turned into a 50-minute nap, ladies and gentlemen, and I woke up with 10 minutes to spare, and I rolled out of bed, threw on my suspenders, ran down the stairs, and pressed the broadcast button. So here I am before you, ladies and gentlemen, at the peak of my live performance power, with my bloodshot eyes. Oh, cigar, save me from this monstrosity. Today we are smoking an Onyx. Nothing fancy. Doesn't get into all sorts of crazy Caribbean words like fuente, fire. It's just Onyx. Mr. Tumnus says, a crash nap that crashed, indeed. My crash naps tend to crash. They don't. You know, they call them power naps. They say you should take a power nap. Or those people who say, yes, you should take a nap in the middle of the workday. No, I can't power nap. My naps, it's not like you, I feel like everyone expects me to be that guy in Parks and Rec. Right, what's his name? Chris Traeger. The guy in Parks and Rec where his body is a microchip, and you know everything is operating at peak efficiency, and he's got all of his bodily functions down to a schedule and on a calendar. Yes, it's in the middle of the workday, and I'm going to take a 30-minute power nap, and I'm going to wake up refreshed. No, that's not the way it works for me. I take a 30-minute power nap, and then I wake up, and my body screams at me and says, Oxhorn, what are you doing? I was just about to get into REM sleep, where dreams are made, and you wake up? What is wrong with you? That's my power naps stretch over a period of 8 hours. That's when my naps come into full power. And you think I would have learned this about myself after 34 years on this twisted coil. But no, I still succumb to the temptation of a power nap. And it never works out. Greg Hartang says, you're smoking a rock snake? Or is it pronounced Odix? No, it's Onyx. O-N-Y-X, Onyx. Like the rock. Like the gemstone, Onyx. Like the first 4 letters of Onyxia. To put it in terms that WoW geeks can understand. Chief Smash says power naps are supposed to be 15 or 20 minutes, I think. They do work, but I have had a hard time forcing myself to only lay down for 15 to 20 minutes. Yes, that is exactly my issue. What kind of human being can lay down and say, I'm going to do this thing that our species evolved to do over a period of 8 to 9 hours. I'm going to do this thing for only 15 minutes because that is perfectly natural. Yes, even though the majority of people specifically evolved to sleep over an entire evening, when it's dark, when the light is gone, I'm going to take that, scrunch it into a 15-minute period of time, and my body will react as if that is a mode of operation. I'm ranting about naps on this program now. What has happened to me? I'm getting old! I am literally getting old! I'm ranting about naps! Naps! On my program! I'm getting old! Oh my god. I gotta turn this thing on. Here we go. Like a light switch. Oh, man. You know what distresses me? When my cottage cheese is extra lumpy. When I feel extra tapioca in my tapioca pudding. It gets in my dentures and it just makes everything uncomfortable. That was my old person impersonation. My apologies to the old people who were offended. Shawarma. Where is he? Where's shawarma? Mr. Tumnus says, my son is a trip. My youngest is headed to bed. He gave out loves, and when I asked him for kisses, he removed his binker, then snuggled his blanket over his face and ran off to bed. Oh, no kisses. No kisses for youngest baby boy, eh? He's got to run and hide from daddy. Oh, that's funny. The Bancy Factor says, I'd rather go fishing with an Ixia than fishing with an elf. True story. Good taste there. Cigar Ox says, this week in the universe, episode 400 will be March 30th, 2017. So a year from 6 days from now. What will the world be like? We'll have a new president. Let's not get into this. I'm sorry I brought it up. We're not talking politics. I don't even want to hear... No. If it rhymes with grump, it will not be spoken in this chat. Okay? Sorry. My bad. I even vaguely moved towards politics. And I instantly regretted it. We hear enough of it all day, all week. Mr. Tumnus says, I'm surprised that you don't always use wooden matches to light your cigars. I actually used to have a nice box of long stem wooden matches that were perfect for lighting my cigars. But of course I used them all. And being the lazy individual that I am when it comes to smoking, I always find the laziest way to go about doing it. I didn't get more matches, so... This is actually designed for cigars. This is a cigar lighter. It's a desktop lighter, which is why it's extra big. It's got a jet, which is good for toasting the end of the cigar. So it is designed... it is fulfilling its purpose, but I do appreciate a nice long wooden match. Imagine Justin says cottage cheese. Now I can go for some along with lettuce and corn chips. Sounds like a fine evening, good sir. Chief Smash says, I'm watching the show on my big TV instead of the PC monitor, so I'm expecting the smoke rings to look glorious. Oh, someone has high expectations. All right, here we go. In 1080p, HP, what is it? HD? 1080 HD. Here we go. Well, I had some there. All for 17 says, I hate politics, so can we avoid talking about it? Mr. Tumda says, politics is not classy enough for this program. Chief Smash says, I agree, Mr. Thomas. Sounds like there's a consensus here. No politics on Scotch and Smoke Rings. This is why I love this community. You guys are right. You guys are alright, you know? Have you ever accidentally lit your beard on fire? Says X-Rowdy Crooks. Not my beard, but my mustache. Yes, I have accidentally lit my mustache on fire. It usually happens when my cigar is running really low and it gets towards the end here, and it's not so low that I'm ready to throw it away, because the miser in me can't allow me to waste anything that I paid money on. So I've got about an inch left, and I've got this thing, and I've got it really close to my mouth, trying to relight it, and then whoa! And then I go, and now I've got this burnt stubble right up here. It's actually a really efficient way of trimming the mustache. I'm told it smells horrible. There's nothing worse than the smell of burnt hair. But of course I can't smell it, because I singed my sinuses long ago. They're fried. Chief Smash says poly, meaning many, and ticks, meaning tiny blood-sucking creatures. Politics. You know? Even though that's technically incorrect, I actually like that definition. It's strangely applicable in the modern age. Hawkstar says, blah, I finally got my browser working. Hello, peoples. Hello, Hawkstar. Pleasure to have you on the program today. Robin2258 says, new guilty pleasure snack. Raisin Bran plus peanut butter plus a drizzle of honey. I was with you up until the Raisin Bran, which you listed first, so that means I was immediately not with you. But I do like peanut butter. And I do like honey. I even like breakfast cereal, but I do not like dried, wilted grapes. AKA raisins. Not, Trish Krager, to make another reference to that show, calls them nature's candy. I'm not keen. I'm not keen on raisins. X-Rowdy Crooks says, your book is good. Well, thank you. You sound almost surprised. But I take that as a great compliment. And I put a lot of effort into that book. I enjoyed writing it. I enjoyed publishing it. And now I'm enjoying listening to people read it. Well, listening to people share their experiences in reading it. Fedoro Grigoro says, off topic, I was initially going to make a voice recording explaining the reasons why you should play Skyrim, Oxhorn, but alas, laziness took over. Instead, I shall craft a brief list here. Right, because it's less effort to sit down and write all of your thoughts out on a keyboard than to click one button and to open your mouth and speak. Okay. To each his own. Imagine Justin says there was that one glorious moment a few weeks ago, or last week, where Oxhorn was able to get a smoke ring around the camera. Do you remember that, good Sir Oxhorn? Yes, it went really close to the camera. Let's see if I can do it again. Crossing fingers here, crossing fingers. Ah, each one so close, and yet so far. I feel like I'm in Fallout 4, slightly changing my trajectory when throwing hand grenades. Nope, that didn't go through the window. Okay, tip it slightly up. Nope, that didn't go through the window. Okay, to the right just a little bit. Ixel Trey Lixel says, "You're the biggest neckbeard since Gandalf." Well, thank you. Gandalf is an admirable character. His beard is amazing. I will take that as quite a compliment. Alright, here are the reasons, according to Greg Hartung, that one should play Skyrim. Nordic atmosphere in towns. Dragons. And absorbing their powers upon killing them. Incredible soundtrack, which I've actually heard on Pandora. Oodles, his word, not mine, of interesting quests. Enticing thief system. Really? Oh, that actually is pretty interesting. And dynamic combat. Okay. See, I'm not keen on dragons. I feel like there are dragons in absolutely everything. Everything has dragons these days. If it's vaguely medieval, they're going to throw a dragon in there. So, but an enticing thief system? See, that's one thing. I tend to always play the White Knight in games like this, and I'm starting to get bored of that. So maybe I'll play an evil character in Skyrim. Maybe a thief. If it's an enticing thief system, maybe I'll go ahead and try it. Hawkstar says, "I burnt my arm hair reaching over a glass vanilla candle." Well, thank you for sharing. I hope you heal. I mean emotionally, not physically. Because to lose one's arm hair is scarring. Also emotional, not physically. Robin2258 says you could use Cheerios instead of Raisin Bran, Oxhorn. Okay. That's a good point. Or grape nuts. I could use grape nuts. Close to raisins. Grape nuts, right? Oh, more reasons. More reasons. Here we go. Choosing your side in a bloody civil war. Killing elves. Becoming a werewolf. Join a witch hunting sect. The list goes on and on. Buy this game, Oxhorn. You can break into homes. You can steal stuff. You can also join a thieves guild and get a ton of gold by pickpocketing. Man, Bethesda should just hire you as a spokesman, Greg. Just, this is your calling. The Bancy Thatcher says bacon plus more bacon plus a pile of bacon equals happy Oxhorn. Well, that is a recipe for happiness. That's the only kind of math I truly enjoy doing, says the Bancy Thatcher. It's very true. Greg Hartung says, however, I warn you, this game can consume copious amounts of your time. Yeah, tell me about it. I bit the Fallout bug. And part of me has regrets. I mean, here I am. You know, I played. I'm level 100. Did I tell you that? Yeah, my character is level 100. I almost feel embarrassed saying that. Level 100. 100 levels. In a video game. but it's a compelling game, and I'm enjoying it. And this latest expansion just came out, or add-on, I guess it's called. Automatron, you can build robots. I've wanted to play that game ever since I was a kid. Hey there, baby Oxhorn. You want to play a game where you can build robots? That was apparently an adult in my life at some point. Yes, high-pitched adult person. I would love to play a game where you build robots. So here we go. My fantasy is fulfilled. Chief Smash says, Oxhorn, have you heard that Radio Dismuke is now in the hands of a non-profit music museum? I'm not sure if that would affect your earlier difficulties in using the channel for your background music. I had not heard that. That's great news. I'm super excited to hear about stuff like that. However, it still doesn't change things for me because the issue... To turn that down a little bit. The issue is with YouTube and the way that music studios work like parasites with their lawyers to suck the lifeblood out of the YouTube community. Even studios that had nothing to do with the original release of a song, if they managed to purchase one share of a song or something that they used in a movie once, they can take claim to your entire video, and they can just monetize it. And the way that the YouTube ticket system works is horrible. So what'll happen is you'll use some song from the 1930s, and then some music studio will scan your video, detect the song, and say, oh, In Grooves is the name of one of these studios that does this all the time. They'll go, oh, yeah, this is totally our licensed song, so we're claiming your entire video. Now, they can either take your video, and it is now in their channel. Or, what happens most of the time, is they just put their ads on top of your video. So that people can still watch your video, but you don't get any money off of it. Which is just evil. And, then you have a few options. You can contest it. And that's what I typically do. I'll typically contest it. And I typically win. I'll say this is fair use. But it takes 30 days. You publish a video, you contest it, 30 days later, the studio will say, oh, okay, well, we don't want to contest this, so yeah, let's let Oxhorn do it. But then sometimes they do contest it. Sometimes they're like, no, this is not fair use. Oxhorn is not using this fairly, so we're going to continue to try and monetize this song that we had nothing to do with the production of, even though it's almost 70 years old. Anyway. So I won't be able to use some music. So basically the rule is, if the song was produced after 1920, it's not in the public domain, and therefore I have to demonstrate my fair use before I can use it, which is frustrating. Greg Hartung says, so I take it that this regret you initially felt upon buying Fallout 4 has faded away. No, it hasn't, because the thing is, the regret is laced in layers of gray. On the one hand, I regretted the purchase at first because it was a lot of money to buy the game, like $60. It's a game. It's like $60 for a video game. So I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth, and so I played the game, and I really liked the game. So on that end, I'm definitely getting my money's worth. But then if you think about it another way, you're paying money to dump your time, to dump hours of your life into a black hole that you will never recover. The 100 hours or however many hours that I've put into Fallout 4, I will never get back. those are productive hours I could have used to work on my beard website, or to work on a new movie, or to work at work, or play with the kids at a park, or something like that. And I threw it into a video game. So, did I just pay $60 to waste the next 100, 200, 300 hours of my life? It's laced with regret. Lots of regret. Yet I'm having a good time. It's a lot of fun. I log in and I build a robot. It's great. So, I don't know. I'm not going to think about it too much because then I'll just get depressed. Chief Smash says the smoke rings are flying well. Is your air filter not on? It is on, but it's at the other side of the office. I moved it. I got a third monitor. Monitor 1, Monitor 2, Monitor 3. And this monitor is now taking the place where the filter once was. So I had to move the filter. Hauru86 says, why do you wear a hat inside? The Bancy Fadger says that's not a hat, that's part of his head. Indeed. It's like saying, why do you have hair? Well, because it's part of me, obviously. I grew this. What, you think I just bought it and put it on my head and I'm wearing it for some sort of fashion sensibility? Crazy. No, this is grown. It's homegrown. How do you get hats? Buy them? Greg Hartung says, if you're this conflicted with a video game, then you might as well disregard my encouragement to pick up Skyrim. Oh, that's probably... this is why it's been... Look, the game has been out for 4 years, as somebody said earlier in the show. And as Robin2258 said, the game's been out for 4 years, and there is a reason why I haven't purchased it yet, because I know that's the kind of game I'm going to really get into. I actually have a friend at the coffee shop that I go to every day who just started playing Skyrim, and he brings his laptop to work now. And when there isn't a car, and when there isn't a customer, and when he's not cleaning, he's playing Skyrim from his laptop at the coffee stand because he's so addicted to it. And he was so upset. He leans out the window and hands me my coffee. And he says, Oxhorn, I'm so upset. I knew this would happen. I knew that Skyrim was the kind of game that I would get really into. And then it would take over my life. And I'm so upset at myself for playing it. But then he begins to tell me about his latest quest adventure with glinting eyes because he loves the game so much. And I'm like, all right, I see where this is going. But I know that that's me too. That's me. If I were to start playing Skyrim, I would get into it, right? And it would take over my life. So it's kind of like one of those things that you look at from afar, like a fancy car. And you go, ooh, isn't that beautiful? But you know what? That's too tempting. I'm not going to touch it because I know if I do, I'm going to obsess over it. Or I'll be tempted to do something drastic. So, that's me. Chief Smash says, yeah, but you can get Skyrim for $5. Yeah, that's making it even worse. $5 to waste 300 hours of my life. All right, Junkard says, but fancy cars are expensive. Okay, it wasn't the perfect analogy. I'll admit that. It wasn't the perfect analogy. Let's see if there are any recorded messages this week. Can you believe that we're already 37 minutes into this program? It doesn't feel like... I feel like I've just been warming up, right? I got the cigar lit, I've got my scotch, I've been taking a few sips. Okay, now we're ready to move on with the program. But no, we're 40 minutes in. As I get older, time just sort of stretches out. And what was once A long period of time is now no longer. All right, first on the program is Andy the DK. What is on your mind, good sir?
Greetings, Oxhorn. It is I, Andy the DK. My greetings to you and all of the chat. Hope you are all having a fantastic week. Once again, it is time for the show's new daily segment, Classy Question of the Week. And my question to you this week is, in previous episodes I have asked you a lot about clothing and about, gentlemanly etiquette. This week I'm going to refer back to the clothing, and I'm going to ask you, what is the origination and what is so classy about wearing certain hats? You are known for your iconic bowler hat wearing, but what makes wearing a bowler hat classy? Is it the style? Is it the shape of the hat? Any sort of advice would be great. What are some other classy hats, and what are some do's and don'ts of the etiquettes of wearing classy hats? Thank you once again, good sir, and I hope you and everyone else has an amazing week and weekend. Happy Easter, by the way, and my greetings to you and your family. Ox, thank you very much, and I shall talk to you next week, good sir. Stay classy.
Cheers, cheers, matey. Thank you for the Easter well wishes. Happy Easter to you and yours as well. All right, so history of the bowler hat. A long time ago, in a forest far, far away, on the opposite side of the world, in London, England, there were these lords who were chasing foxes on their horses. Because, that's what lords tended to do. They would see a fox and go, "Ooh, I must chase that fox on my horse." So they would get on their horses, and they'd put on their long coat and tails, and they'd put on their tall silken top hats. And then they'd go a-riding. And because the top hat was so tall, they would have to go a-riding one-handed. So they'd hold onto their hat, and then they'd grab the reins of their horse, and they'd be like, "Yeah, after the fox, horsey!" And I'm sure that's the accent they used as well. But, then they would have to leap over boulders and fences and things, and there were moments when they had to grab the reins with both hands, and then the wind would knock their top hats off, and because they were made of silk, they would hit the earth and crumble to pieces. And top hats were expensive, and it was a waste of a hat, and this was concerning to one particular lord in particular. And he thought, man, these top hats are not very aerodynamic. And so he worked with a haberdashery to design a new type of hat that was equally snazzy as a top hat, and yet was more aerodynamic so that he could get on his horse and chase after foxes. I'm not making this up. This is the real story. Thus, the bowler hat was born, or the derby, I should say. It was originally called the derby. Well, in England, it's called a derby. In America, it's called the bowler. So he invented the bowler hat. It instantly caught on as being the sportsman's head attire. So the top hat was seen as more formal. That's what you wore on boats and to white tie dinners or black tie dinners. And the derby is what you wore out and about. When you were going out on the town and you didn't want to ruin your top hat, you would wear your bowler. Now, fast forward, 50 to 100 years, and the lower classes and the middle classes really wanted to emulate the higher classes, which is, of course, how all these things work. Even if you look at the lower classes today, they tend to do things in a way to emulate higher classes. Oh, these little pieces of shiny plastic look like gemstones. I'm going to embroider my blouse with them to say something like sweetie or plush. And it's going to look like I've got all these diamonds on my chest, but it's really just shiny plastic. See what I mean? Anyway, so the middle and lower classes wanted to emulate the upper classes, and so they all got derbies. The production of the derby became mechanized, and it became much cheaper, and so they were all over the place, which is why by the time Charlie Chaplin comes on the scene, it is the typical headwear of the tramp. which is what he was playing in his shows. So the lifespan of a derby is a wild one. It started off as a very gentlemanly hat, and then it became common, for lack of a better term. It became very, very common, a very common hat. So now to answer your question about what makes a hat fancy, or what makes a hat classy, it's one of those things where there is no such thing as a classy hat, because first of all, the hat has to fit your face. And not every face is suitable for every hat. For example, I don't think my face does top hats very well. I have a top hat. I've worn top hats on the program before. I think the bowler fits it better because it's rounder, and I've got a rounder face. It has a lower profile. But really tall, thin people with sharp, angular features can rock a top hat very well. So you got to take a look at the way your face is constructed. Does the hat flatter the face? And the second thing you have to bear in mind is, does it come across as too pretentious? And that, tragically, is the fault that many quote-unquote neckbeards fall into, with the fedora in particular. They see old film noir films, and they see Humphrey Bogart rocking a fedora, and they think, oh, well, the fedora must be a classy hat. So I am going to take the fedora and, out of context, put it on my head, and then tip it forward and say, "Milady." And that is tragic, because the fedora is being abused. Now, I'm going to come across as a hypocrite, I realize that. But, first of all, you never wear hats indoors. Unless you're a character and you're in front of a TV show. But you never wear hats indoors, because ultimately the point of a hat is to shield your head from Mother Nature. It is to protect your skull and your noggin from the sun's evil rays and the rain's torrential downpour. Second of all, you never wear it with a t-shirt. Never wear it with a t-shirt, no. It is an outdoor... Hats are meant for the outdoors. It is for going out and about on the town. You wear a hat along with a nice a winter coat. Whether it's a woolen coat or a trench coat or some sort of outdoor coat attire. If you're wearing a fedora, you go outside with a coat, with your boots, maybe even an umbrella. Because you're protecting yourself from the weather. You don't go out and about in a fedora and a black t-shirt that says Horde. I love the Horde on it. You don't. No. It's just no. Now, there are some hats which are much more casual that don't ascribe to these head-wearing rules too much, like the humble baseball cap. Now, I'm not terribly fond of the baseball cap or the trucker hat. That I used to wear one all the time when I was a younger man, but you can get away with a lot more when it comes to simple hats like the baseball cap. You can wear those indoors usually, unless you're going to church, and you're not breaking too many rules. I mean, you don't have to be playing baseball to wear the baseball cap. Just don't wear it backwards. If you want people to think that you're 13 years old and you just discovered the skateboard, then wear it backwards and you'll be good. But if you do decide to rock a baseball cap, just wear it the way it was meant to be worn. And for the love of Pete, don't flatten the bill with books. I mean, why? Why go into all that effort? You know what the skaters used to do in my high school? Back when I was a kid. And this is just to show you how culture has changed. We would all wear baseball caps, and then they would take their baseball caps and they would get wads of rubber bands, and they would wrap the rubber bands around the bill so that the bill went from being slightly curved to almost completely round. And they would set the bill of the baseball cap, they would soak it in water, they would wrap it in rubber bands, and then they would let it sit for days. Then they would remove the rubber bands, and you had this tightly bound, almost perfectly circled bill. And, man, they thought that was the coolest thing, and they would be running around with their hats backwards and the circle bill, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is a lot of effort. Like, they would do the same things with their shoes. They hated to show their shoelaces. So they wouldn't tie their shoes. They would put their shoes on, and then they would take the shoelaces and they would lace them. They would lace it up, but they wouldn't pull it tight, and then they would snip off the ends and then put this little knot at the very end and tuck it under the tongue, so that the shoes were incredibly loose. But they looked neat because there were no laces visible. Again, another effort. Like, you're putting so much effort into the appearance of your shoelaces, and the way that your bill is conspicuously tightened. And you're 17 years old in high school, and your goal at this point in your life is to study biology and then go to your job so that you can earn enough money to go to college. That's your goal. And you're worried about your shoelaces. As a child in high school, this bothered me. I was confused by it. And it's the same thing nowadays. Nowadays, the kids are putting their baseball caps on a hard surface and then piling books on the bill to completely flatten it. In my day, we wrapped rubber bands around it to make it round, and now we're putting books on it to flatten it. And you got to make sure that the tag, the original tag, when you purchased it, is still attached. If you remove the tag, apparently that's bad because you want to tell the world that you stole it, which is why the tag is still there. I don't know. What is the purpose of leaving the tag on your hat? What are you telling the world? Are you showing them how much it cost you so that they can lift it open and go, oh, this was a $30 hat? Or are you telling the world, hey, I ripped this from a store and I was too lazy to take the tag off, so this is me sporting around stolen goods? Like, what's the point? I just don't get it. So things like that. When you go out of your way to broadcast your style. David Mitchell, the modern comedian, he's got a personal philosophy that I think is really important. He goes, he makes sure that when he wears clothing, he does so in a way that is not conspicuous, but he doesn't go out of his way to look non-conspicuous, because that in itself would be conspicuous. It's a good thing to bear in mind when thinking about your own personal style. Greg Hartung says, did Oxhorn just pull up? Back in my day. I think I did. All right, next on the program is Madman Max. Good sir, you are on the program. What is on your mind?
Greetings, Oxhorn. It is I, Madman Max here.
Woo.
Once again to ask you another infamous question. Chances are there's going to be two this week because I'm currently recording this on Sunday. Right, anyway, to this question, what powers would you have from World of Warcraft? Would you be a mage, a druid, maybe a shaman, or a priest? Let us find the answer to this by having your mind picked. Good night, Oxhorn. Enjoy your Scotch on Thursday.
Thank you, good sir, and that's an easy one. I would totally pick the powers of a druid, because only the druid can shapeshift into a bird and fly. I mean, think about all of the different classes in World of Warcraft. None of them can fly, aside from the druid. I mean, yes, you can hop on your mount and fly around, and sure. But to actually turn into a winged creature and fly on your own power without needing the power of another beast of burden or a magic carpet, well, I would choose the druid for those reasons. Next on the program is Majin Justin. What is on your mind, good sir?
Greetings, Oxhorn. Majin Justin here. I have a question for you about the cigars that you smoked on the show. There are certain types which are the length of the cigars, which are long, medium, and then the short versions. Are the short versions actually good and worth to try out and buy?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So I'll tell you a little bit about the logic behind them. So you've got the long ones, which are the nice Churchill length. You've got, the Robustos, which are a little bit longer. And then you've got the really small ones, like the Nub brand, NUB, the Nub brand. And here's the logic behind a short cigar. Every time you have a cigar, you've got the good part and the bad part. The medium part is at the very beginning. You know, sometimes you get something that's really good, but sometimes it's a little grassy, and it doesn't get really good until you're about an inch in. Then the body of the cigar, that's where the true flavor comes out, and you really start to enjoy the unique characteristics of the cigar, whether it's nutty, or whether it's got some chocolate overtones, or it's got like an earthy flavor, or whatever. You know, you enjoy it until about the final inch. That final inch is called the manure. And the reason for that is because typically the final inch of a cigar is not that tasty. And the reason for that is because as you're smoking the cigar, you've got all of the tar and nicotine passing through all of these leaves, and it tends to get caught in this last bit where it's a little bit more narrow and where saliva has accumulated, which catches some of the tar. So it becomes a little bit more bitter. And the reasoning behind a shorter cigar is that they cut off that bad bit. They say, well, that bad bit is gone. Now, obviously, the reason it's the bad bit is because it's not because of the tobacco leaves, it's because of how you smoke it. And yet, at the same time, because it's a shorter cigar, you're smoking it for less time, which means that there's less time for tar to accumulate in the butt of the cigar. Meaning that you're likely not going to ever get a cigar that's shorter, have that quote-unquote manure section. Now, it never tastes like manure. They just call it that because manure is not very tasty, and that's not very tasty. Now, for me, it's never bothered me. Like, I will completely finish cigar, and I never taste any badness. But that's just because my sense of taste and smell has been eradicated due to a sinus infection when I was a child. Incidentally, that's my superpower. Yes, I can enjoy a whole cigar because I can't smell it. Anyway, so that's the logic behind short cigars. Now, I've tried shorter cigars before, like the Nub brand, and they're good. You know, they're not bad. But I prefer longer ones just because you can smoke it for longer. You can enjoy it for a longer period of time. Lukevate says, I might get a bowler hat just to the ladies. Then he corrects himself, miladies. Nice. Nicely done. I see what you did there. Fedoro Gregoro says, my very namesake may be jeopardized. Yeah. Well, it's not a hard and fast rule, good sir. Greg Harting says, what about fedoras and polo shirts? Are those a good match? Not really, because polo shirts are inherently casual. Like, I mean, think about what they're called. They're called polo shirts and golf shirts. Both of them are outdoors activities, right? Golf is an outdoor activity. Polo is a sport. And you don't wear fedoras. I mean, you have a similar problem to the top hat. Like, what's the point of a fedora? The point of a fedora, and the way it's clearly designed, is to reflect rain, right? It has this tip that goes down to allow rainwater to fall off of it. And the same for the back. It shields your head. That is the ultimate purpose of it. When you wear something that has a design that was for a completely different purpose for how you're using it, it comes across as being odd. Either that you don't understand the purpose of the garment, or that you're trying too hard, so to speak. Of course, now, I'm not judging anyone. If you want to wear a fedora with a polo shirt, wear a fedora with a polo shirt. It's your life. It's your hat. It's your polo shirt. Personally, I don't like polo shirts. Yes, I have been caught in them in the past. Usually it tends to be when I'm wearing a work uniform. For some reason, work jobs, especially service industry jobs, love you in a polo outfit, a polo shirt for some reason. But those are inherently sports shirts. They're typically activity shirts. So I think fedoras look best if you're wearing a nice buttoned-up collared shirt with a coat, and you're going outside doing something. Then you can rock a fedora. The Bants of Adger says, can I Skype you the smoke ship tonight, Ox? You may. Let me pop open Skype here in preparation. Don't send it now, send it when it's time, but I'm opening Skype so that it's open when it's time. Robin2258 says, nubs are awesome, but they take forever to smoke. Arcatraz says nubs are nice now that they have their production under control. Yeah, I've always enjoyed a nub. I too have found that they take a while to smoke. I think that's just due to the way that they're packed. They tend to be tightly wound. And usually when you have a tightly wound cigar, it gets really bitter. But for some reason, the nubs always smoke really well for me. Like, you can tell the quality of the creation of a cigar by how sturdy the ash is as it burns. Now, I've already ashed my cigar, but take a look. I don't know if you can see it, but that ash is still maintains the form of the cigar, which means that it was wrapped well. It was put together well. Lawmanz is in the chat and says, hi, Oxhorn. Hi, Lawmanz. Pleasure to have you on the program again. Always good to see you come back. Hawkstar says, my ex, she smoked thinner cigars. With black cherry, she had 4 in one sitting and wondered why she felt a bit sick afterwards. Your ex was not smoking cigars. Those are cigarillos, and even worse than that is they were flavored cigarillos. And people who actually smoke cigars can't stand those kind of cigars. And the reason for that is because you're supposed to get the flavor of a cigar from the way that the cigar has been, the way that the leaves have been aged, and the way that the cigar has been put together. So certain tobacco plants are grown in certain soils to grow a distinct and unique flavor, and then they're aged in aging barns for specific periods of time and due to unique formulas to acquire a specific taste. That taste is hard to create, and these cigar manufacturers will put a lot of time and effort into making these flavors that are really nice and earthy. But then the cigarillo manufacturers will put a bunch of tobacco leaves, usually from leftovers from cigarettes. They'll put all these cigarette tobacco leaves in a tobacco rolling machine. They'll roll these little cigarillos, and then they'll take this brush and they'll dip it in this sugar flavor, and they'll just paste it all over the cigar to give it like a cherry or a grape flavor. And you're not smoking a work of art. You're smoking for the sweetness. You're smoking just because you want to smoke, just for the sake of smoking, or because you're addicted. And it's a mindset. There are two different kinds of mindsets that are, in my opinion, different when smoking a real cigar or smoking cigarettes and cigarillos. Not that I'm judging. I'm not here to judge. That's not my goal. They serve different functions. X Equate says, is that a marijuana cigarette? No, this is not a marijuana cigarette. Greg Hartung says, well, I live in Florida. I might as well store it along with my Christmas decorations. What works well in hotter climes are grass hats. Get yourself a nice grass hat, which, interestingly enough, is often shaped in the shape of a fedora. What's it called? There's a very specific hat. It's made from grass that has been aged white. A Panama hat. That's what it is. Get yourself a Panama hat. A Panama hat will work really well in hotter climes when it never rains, when it's almost always sunny. Walk around in a Panama hat and you should be good to go. We're late in showing fan art, says Cigar Ox. Indeed we are. Let's get to it. Oh my goodness. The Scotch and Smoke Rings community is reporting posts now. That's good. Somebody was spamming my Scotch and Smoke Rings. All right. Alright, so I've got some... Alright, I'm not going to show the videos you guys posted, just because they take quite a toll on my resources. Let's see, there are a few images here. There we go. What's this? Okay, so, let's see if I can do this. Did I fix it? Sorry for the for the dead air, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to figure out. Nope. 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 Having a hard time sharing my screen. Alright, this is the best I can do, so I'm going to drag stuff over here. So this was submitted by Cigarox, and he says, thought I'd post this in honor of the Batman v Superman movie, which was taken at a rest area a few miles east of Metropolis. That's right, Metropolis, Illinois. And there we are. This is our very own Cigarox posing as Superman while smoking a cigar. Let's see if we can get that bigger. Yeah, we can, but it gets cut off. There we go. Look at that. Nicely done. I'm digging the cigar there, good sir. Looking good. All right. Thank you for sharing. And then there's this from Chris Cheshire. And he says, "Thou hast pecan pie. I will have to send a piece to Staghorn in Seattle." And look, he's sharing with us his pecan pie. Looks like he has had a delicious Thursday afternoon. Thank you, good sir. And I believe that's all the fan art. Everything else is videos, like people sharing movie trailers and game trailers and stuff. And I'm not going to play those on the program. But that's it. So thank you very much for all the fan art, ladies and gentlemen. Madman Max sent you files on Skype. Oh, okay. Greetings, Oxhorn. I was wondering if I could get your opinion on my story thus far, as I'm a little bit stuck for ideas and can't seem to find my spark recently, so I was hoping to get an idea or two from yourself, as you're a published writer. That's the story as it might now read. It's ready for you to download when you're ready, good sir. Well, Madman Max, I appreciate you sending me your story. I don't think I can offer my criticism as much as I would love to, simply because I think that would take a lot of time. I think that would take a lot of time, and I don't want to give it to you. I don't want to give you that time. So, no, I appreciate it though. I appreciate you sharing. I will read your Smoke Ship novels live on the air, but I'm not going to give you critiques for your story. But thank you for sharing it with me anyway. I do appreciate it. The Bancy Thatcher says, "Crick in the back turns 9 years old tomorrow. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear it." It's 9 years old tomorrow? Really? Crick in the back. Wow. Gosh, I remember that. I remember making it. I remember the mindset I was in when I made that. I remember what I was thinking about. It's an odd movie to make, but it makes sense. All right, more messages. Fedora Gregoro says, "So should I now be called Panama Greg?" That does have a nice ring to it. Look, you are an adult male individual, living your own life, master of your own domain, which includes your own headgear. You call yourself what you wish, you wear what you wish, good sir. You are a free individual in this greatest nation on God's green earth, to quote Michael Medved. So do what you got to do. You don't need my permission. You don't need the permission of others. Forge your own destiny, good sir. The Bancy Factor says, I was in the single digits then when the Crick in the Back was made, and I'll be an adult in a few weeks. Crazy how time flies. Oh, man. Back in my day, I am feeling old now. Indeed, crazy how time flies. You know, you think about it, it only takes 2 decades for a creature to grow from a single cell to a voting, smoking, driving adult human being. And 2 decades is not a long time. I mean, the more I think about it, I mean, the longer I live, the more I realize that that's not a long period of time. I was nearly what I am when I was 20 years old. Have I changed much since then? I don't know. I don't think so. My beard is longer, that's true. But not a lot has changed since then. How about Panama McLovin, says Cigar Ox. Panama McLovin? People are going to enter this chat for the first time and read all of the usernames and be like, Panama McLovin? The Bancy Fadger? Where did these guys come from? And not realize, yeah, these are all inside jokes. Robin2258 says, there are studies that show the perception of time changes as you get older. The year just goes by so quickly. Indeed, I've not only noticed that to be true in my own life, but I have a theory. And I've heard this theory echoed by other people, including Jeremy Clarkson. So I don't think it's just mine. But I think, and this is something that I thought about a long time ago, I think that the reason it feels like time goes by faster as you get older is, and I might have even expressed this on the show before, but when you're young, your entire world of existence, is only two years, right? So that's it. Your entire lifespan is 2 years. So the next year feels like it's a really long time because it's a third of your life. Then when you're 10 years old, 1 year is an entire tenth of your life. But when you're 30 years old, 1 year is only 1/30th of your life, and then on and on and on, until you're 100 years old, and 1 year is only 1% of your life, right? So I think that time slows down in our minds simply because we have a longer frame of reference for time. It would be interesting to be able to live to be 1,000 years old, to see how time felt. I could imagine 1,000-year-old people sitting in one place for days, weeks, and months on end without really realizing it or even feeling it, because time just feels so slow, or time feels so quickly to them. Okay, you both are... Okay, so Robin and Cigar are spouting references that I'm not familiar with. Robin says, that sounds like a 5 for Fighting song, Ox, and I'm not familiar with 5 for Fighting. And the Cigar Ox says, it's Gary Shandling's funeral. I'm sorry, I don't know who Gary Shandling is. I'm going to have to educate myself and Google these things after the show. Imagine Justin says, if we need to be 1,000 years old, then we got to freeze ourselves and live in the future. But that defeats the purpose, right? If you were to freeze yourself, a la Fallout, and then get unthawed 1,000 years into the future, yes, technically you would be 1,013 years old, or however long, but your mind would still only be 13, or however old you are, because it never lived through all of those thousands of years. Your body might have existed, but your mind was frozen, and it didn't go on and start developing until you were unthawed. So your frame of reference would still be as a 13-year-old, or however old you are, not as the 1,000-year-old that your toenail is. See what I mean? Greg Harting says Gary was a well-known comedian and comedy writer. Yes, but how does that reference go back into like aging? I'll have to look it up. Robin says 5 for Fighting is a band. The song is 100 Years. I think their best song is Superman, about how it's really not as great to be Superman as you might think. I'd be interested in hearing that song because I think it would be great to be Superman. And Gary Shandling. Oh, Gary Shandling died today. Got you. I see. So you weren't saying that in reference to what I was saying. You were just sharing some news that Gary Shandling died today. Okay. Well, condolences to the family of Gary Shandling. We hope he's in a better place. Good cigar. All right. No more voice messages. And let's see. Have we gone through all of the fan art? Indeed. Let's take a look at This Week in the Universe. This week in science, unexpected changes in bright spots are observed on the dwarf planet Ceres. So we all thought, yeah, those bright spots are just salt deposits, sure. But then they blink. Whoa. Alright, that's a little creepy. Sci-fi becoming reality. This week in biology. Researchers in Chile genetically modified chicken embryos to make them grow dinosaur legs. What? What? Ah, my goodness. Researchers in Chile genetically modified chicken embryos to make them grow dinosaur legs? Wow. Alright, I think that's a simplistic way of saying it. Because we know that birds evolved from dinosaurs, but birds evolved from small, tiny, flightless dinosaurs. Like all the big dinosaurs died because the environment was too toxic, right? There was that big meteor crash, and the only creatures that survived were small mammals that were able to live underground, aquatic creatures that were underwater, and then small, flightless dinosaurs that could also hide and live underground. Those then evolved into birds. Those remaining dinosaurs evolved into birds and other reptiles. And then the mammals evolved into all the mammals we have today. So, I'm imagining a chicken with brontosaurus legs. Even though I realize brontosaurus isn't real. But, okay, let's say T-Rex legs. And yet, by dinosaur legs, you mean similar to the legs that their ancestors, the small flightless dinosaurs, had. Okay. That makes sense. This week in medical science, scientists 3D print cartilage for use in knees, noses, and ears using a new bio-ink composed of human cells. So basically, we're printing flesh. Bio-ink composed of human cells to create cartilage for use in knees, noses, and ears. Creepy, but cool. That's actually really cool. Last week in physics, researchers in Finland build a new quantum computer that takes advantage of a loophole in causality. Sounds like something from a Ray Bradbury novel. Science fiction is reality, ladies and gentlemen. The Higgs boson and quantum computing? Goodness gracious. This week in space, the ExoMars orbiter launches to study methane and search for life on Mars. Hey, that's cool. Another spaceship out in space. Humanity is at it again, folks. This week in medicine, a revolutionary new procedure allows kidney transplants from any donor by altering the patient's immune system. Whoa. Well, I don't know. I mean, how long would that work? So you alter a patient's immune system to accept the new kidney. The new kidney is grafted into the body. It grows. It gets blood flow. Then do you set the immune system back? If you do that, does it then detect the kidney as being foreign material and attack it? Interesting. I don't know. Kind of creepy. This week in robotics, Stanford University releases footage of 6 microbots weighing only 3.5 ounces pulling a 1,700 kilogram car. So it's the whole ant idea, right? Ants can move significantly larger objects, right? If you ever watched Ant-Man, this you know. So they have created what is essentially the robot ant. You guys are still talking about the dinosaur chicken. That's great. This week in medicine, Israeli company Deep Optics develops glasses that can adjust their focus in real time. Whoa, so you don't have to, use bifocals to look in one lens and then look in the others. The glasses themselves adjust their focus depending on what you're looking at. That is cool. That is cool. It's like wearing a pair of binoculars, always wearing a pair of binoculars or something. This week in energy, a new technique to learn nuclear waste using, to clean nuclear waste using an electron stripping technology adapted from solar power is developed. So, does this mean we can clean up all that nuclear waste without waiting billions of years for it to decompose? One half-life turning into another half-life, which turns into another half-life, billions of years? Well, that would be great for places like Fukushima, I can tell you. This week in virtual reality, Sony demonstrates a smart projector at South by Southwest that makes any table interactive. I see, so it projects information onto a tabletop, and then you can sort of point and drag at the pieces of light and move them around, and it's an interactive table. Okay. Brobberlex says Half-Life 3 confirmed. Yes. Yes, Gabe called me on the phone. We're pals. We both live in Seattle, Robin2258 says the projector like the desk in Tron. Yes. We're living in an age where science fiction is becoming reality. The things we could only dream about in days and eras gone by are now becoming our everyday lives. This week in transportation, Ford patents a windshield and ceiling entertainment system for driverless cars. We're getting close there, ladies and gentlemen. What was that movie with Will Smith in it? iRobot. I saw that movie and I'm thinking, I would not want that. Who wants to live in a world where you can't even drive your own car? That takes the joy out of driving. Might as well be sitting on a bus. You're just riding at that point. You're not actually driving. Oh, well, c'est la vie. This week in artificial intelligence. Google's AlphaGo AI beats the world Go champion Lee Sedol 4-1 in the historic series. Oh, you mean we programmed a computer to play a game where you have to be able to anticipate all possible moves? Okay. See, that's the thing. Whenever somebody says, okay, artificial intelligence has defeated the human mind, I sit there and go, I mean, that's not that big a deal. Because, essentially, the best chess players or Go players are the ones whose minds are most like computers. They understand all possible moves, and they can forecast what your opponent is going to, what move your opponent is going to make based on the limited possibilities that there are. Yes, there may be a lot of possibilities. Maybe there's 1,000 different moves that you could make, or 10,000 different moves you could make. And the thing that's remarkable about it is that a human being can think about all of those, keep them in mind, and then use them when trying to anticipate your opponent's move. But for a computer, that's not very impressive, because that is what a computer is designed to do. Computers are designed to store data, and as computers get smaller and smaller until they get to the quantum level and they're able to process more. I mean, you would think, yeah, of course, a computer is going to be better at games that follow rules than a human being. So that's not saying much. The day a computer creates the next blockbuster script, I mean, then I'll be impressed. The day a computer paints something that then gets displayed at the Louvre, I mean, yeah, okay, then I'll be impressed. Robin says, self-driving cars? No thanks. Look at some software bugs in automotives. Scary. Yeah, that's the thing. Whenever we rely too much upon technology, it can get a little... Okay, I'm starting to sound like the Brotherhood of Steel, and I'm starting to view every piece of reality through the lens of a video game. So what's wrong with me? But not that I'm all on, technology going too far, but when you put the life of your family into technology... That's essentially what you're doing when you're driving a driverless car. And yet, we do that every day when we fly. When we get into a plane, yes, you do have a pilot. But for much of the time, the autopilot is working, and that's a computer. And the navigation system is tied to satellites, which are oftentimes being run by computers. So, in a sense, we risk our lives, and we put our lives in the hands of computers every day. But... I agree with you. There is something irksome in being in a driverless car where 100% of your safety and the safety of your family is in the hands of a computer that doesn't have a soul. It's tricky. The true test of artificial intelligence, Oxhorn, says Robin2258, is the method by which the computer conducts its analysis. Right, but the computer is only going to conduct analysis according to ways it has been programmed. It's not going to invent a new way to conduct analysis. Now, it might be programmed to search for new ways to analyze something, and it might come up with a solution that the scientist might never have thought of. True. But that's because it was pointed in the right direction. It was told, okay, focus on these 5 areas of research to see if you can find a new combination of doing things that's going to be more efficient for our company. And it makes that discovery. That's great, but ultimately it wouldn't have done so unless it had been programmed by a human to search in that specific area or to focus on these 5 different bits of data. So I'm still not impressed. Calanthes93 says, darn synths. Yes. Never trust a synth. You're not one of those synths, are you? You're not going to take me away and replace me with a synth. Robin2258 says, yes, but in a plane there are diverse mitigations in case of failure. Yes, one of which being falling from the sky and crashing into the sea. I don't know. I'm not one of those people who's afraid of flying. I fly all the time. I like flying. I'm going to be flying here next month. But all it takes is a windstorm to knock a plane out of the sky, as we recently learned, sadly. Calanthiz93 says, Oxhorn and Gabe, both glorious beards, confirmed friends. Of course. I actually do have a slight connection with Gabe. It's very slight, I'll tell you. So, I once worked at this gaming company in Seattle. I worked there for probably about a year and a half. No, it was shorter than that. It was more like 10 months. And one of my coworkers at the time was one of the founding members of Valve. And good guy, he had spent all his money. So he was working at this company with me. But he had a lot of connections. And after the company, he went on to work for PopCap before PopCap blew up into the company it was. And so he became a very wealthy man. Anyway, because he was one of the founding members of Valve, I shouldn't say founding members, because he was one of the first employees of Valve. He knew everyone at the company, including Gabe. And when I got laid off from that job, he liked me, and he said, look, Oxhorn, I'm going to do you a solid. I'm going to send your resume to Gabe himself. And I'm like, great. So he sent this really loving, warm email to Gabe, and he CC'd me. And he's like, hey, Gabe, if you're looking for someone to do social media or marketing, check out Oxhorn. He's really great. You should hire him. And then Gabe, in his habitual way of responding to every email he gets, responded back and says, thanks very much. And that was it. He read my resume, and that's it. That's my connection to Gabe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:30. That last 30 minutes just flew by. I need to go have some dinner with the family, so let's go ahead and wind this show down. It is smoke ship time. Smoke ships, ladies and gentlemen. As you all know, at the end of every episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings, I blow into existence a ship that did not exist before, based upon your instructions. So what would you like to see? What is on your mind? And I will do my very best to accommodate. Whoa, and right out of the gate, we've got one from Fancy Badger on Skype. This is from Fancy Badger. An army of aerodynamic winged bowler hats piloted by the Minutemen taking charge against a massive horde of angry elves and Pandaren. Well, we're mixing IPs here. Supported by the Brotherhood of Steel, Oxhorn shows up to support the Minutemen due to their mutual distaste of polo shirts and backwards hats. The hero of the program, Cigar Ox, then flies in to give a supply of cigars to all the troops. Our heroes build a Zeppelin featuring a 20-foot cannon that shoots rays of nuclear bacon to swiftly clear out the army. The new leader of the Brotherhood is then revealed to be Panama McLovin. Before McLovin could be brought to justice, he escaped on a frigate he'd stolen from a certain badger after asking him to help remove Christmas decorations. Nicely done. I like how you weaved in our conversations of the day. Then we have one from Greg Hartung. My cigar is out of itself. I'll try not to singe my mustache. This is from Greg Hartung, a flying dimensional traveling destroyer tears through a portal high in the aurora-filled skies of Skyrim, with the maniacal Panama McLovin following behind. As he soars atop his giant flying banana, one of Panama's biggest exports, thank you for that, he relentlessly hounds the ship to plunder her cargo hold, filled with cigars made from Onyxia's scales. Onyxia scale cigars? Really? Ew. Oh, Onyx! Gotcha. Alright. I'm with you. He uses his recently discarded fedora hats. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't ruin the fedora for you. My apologies if I did. He uses his recently discarded fedora hats as cannons and bombards the ship. Amidst the chaos, Captain Oxhorn is snoozing away for a quick nap, having a dreadful nightmare of teenagers crushing poor defenseless hats. He is completely oblivious to both his besieging ship as well as the beauty that is Skyrim. How do you guys do it? Every week, something wonderful. A machine could never do this. A machine could never create the smoke ships that this audience creates. Nicely done, both of you. Any other smoke ships? Madman Max? Did you have one? Let me see what this file was that you sent me. Oh, is this your long story? Yeah, I can't... Well, I'm not going to read that. On the program, it's probably far too long. Whoa! Goodness gracious, my computer's freaking out over the file you sent. Robin2258 says, no, Oxhorn, you didn't ruin the fedora. Casual fedora wear requires a bomber jacket, satchel, a bullwhip, and sarcasm. Touche. Wow. My computer's freaking out. All right, any other submissions before we move on? All right, yeah, Madman Max, I'm taking a look at the story you sent. It's 18 pages. I'm sorry, I can't read this on the program. I appreciate the work that you put into it, though. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Both smoke ships were too good. They were both amazing. So we're going to do both. That's right, it is a dual smoke ship this week, ladies and gentlemen. Pay close attention. I'm going to show you how a dual smoke ship works. Are you ready? That didn't quite work as I thought it would. But whoa! Did you see it? For the bravest of moments, the smoke ship diverged into two. And in one hand, we had an army of aerodynamic winged bowler hats piloted by Minutemen taking a charge against the massive horde of angry elves and Pandaren supported by the Brotherhood of Steel. Oxhorn shows up to support the Minutemen due to their mutual distaste of polo shirts and backward hats. The hero of the program, Cigar Ox, then flies in to give a supply of cigars to all the troops. Our heroes build a Zeppelin featuring a 20-foot cannon that shoots rays of nuclear bacon to swiftly clear out the army. The new leader of the Brotherhood of Steel was revealed as Panama McLovin. Before McLovin could be brought to justice, he escapes on a frigate he'd stolen from a certain badger after asking him to remove Christmas decorations. And the other ship was a flying dimensional traveling destroyer tears through a portal high in the aurora-filled skies of Skyrim, with the maniacal Panama McLovin following behind as he soars atop his giant flying banana, which is one of Panama's biggest exports, by the way. He relentlessly hounds the ship to plunder her cargo hold filled with cigars made from Onyxia's scales. He uses his recently discarded fedora hats as cannons and bombards the ship. Amidst the chaos, Captain Oxhorn is snoozing away for a quick nap. Having a dreadful nightmare of teenagers crushing poor defenseless hats, he is completely oblivious to both his besieging ship as well as the beauty that is Skyrim. Couldn't be clearer than that, says Fedoro Gregoro. 0 for 17 disagrees and says it's kind of sloppy. Yeah, maybe it was a little sloppy this week, ladies and gentlemen, but you still got the picture. You know, a crystal clear painting, a portrait, if you will, before your eyes of two wonderful smoke ships invented by the Scotch and Smoke Rings community. Nicely done. Cheers and bottoms up. Gosh, I've been nursing this the entire program and I haven't made very good progress. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your stories, your submissions, your smoke ships, your fan art, your recorded messages. This is quite an interactive program, and you all never fail to impress. That's this week in the bag, episode 357, I believe. No, 337. Be sure to tune in next week, same Ox time, same Ox channel, for the next one. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a fantastic evening with wonderful beverages and warm blankets when it's time to go to bed. Until then, be sure that each and every one of you stays classy.